Right, hello everyone. So from time to time, I'm gonna do little book reviews, looking at some of the books that kind of relate to the Home Forces and the Regular and Territorial Army in defence of the UK, in some way, shape, or form. Um, and in general, these are going to be, as always, kind of unscripted and just an overview of what I think of some of the books that I read over from time to time, based on my experience. And yeah, these are gonna like little book reviews are gonna aim to point people towards some of the good books and also some of the crap books as well that are out there that relate to the Home Forces and the defence of the UK during the Second World War. So, in terms of crap books, this is certainly not one. This is an absolutely fantastic little book, and I think the author's done extremely well with this. It's a really, really, really good book, which I'll highlight in a second. So, I've literally just finished reading this about 15 minutes ago. So this is Britain's Secret Defences by Andy Chatterton. Um, and just in the kind of interest of transparency here, I've worked with Andy in the past, so we used to do the Homefront History podcast together with Robin Maguire, and I've also done proofreading and providing information on his more recent book, which is, I think, Fortress Britain 1940 or something like that. I can't quite remember. Um, so when it comes to books and reading and all this stuff, I tend to like buy books as and when they come out or within a couple of months of them coming out and then leave them on my bookshelf for something like 10, 20, 30 years and forget to read them or never get around to reading them. Um, and yeah, it's just the way I am with reading. Sometimes I'm dyslexic as well, so from time to time I struggle to read. And I'll pick up a book, start reading it. It's like trying to swim through bloody treacle, and I never get anywhere with them. And it's always a good sign for me when I pick up a book and I can't put it down, and I can read it from cover to cover almost, within the space of a couple of weeks or a month or so. And that was the case with Britain's Secret Defences. So Andy Chatterton is a historian and author who's done a lot of work looking at the auxiliary units and the special duties sections and the kind of sneaky beaky side of the defence of the UK. So in terms of the defence of the UK, as you know, as I constantly bang on about, you get the kind of home guard, which are seen as the amateur old men and young boys armed with pitchforks and crap weapons who were forced onto the front line, following or during just before the fall of France, and were expected to do everything. And then which is completely untrue. And you also get like the sneaky beaky kind of saboteurs and secret army type stuff, and like the secret SAS type things who were units that would of heavily armed men who would pop up behind the enemy lines and destroy petrol dumps and all this stuff. So like the kind of SAS side of things. So you get kind of like the two opposite ends of the equation: the amateur side of things and the really weird and super sexy secret stuff. And the actual history of the frontline fighting forces, the regular and territorial army, never get a look in. So you've got these opposite ends of the equation with the regular forces sat in the middle, and they never get a look in, which is probably one of the reasons why I've not really had much interest in the auxiliary units, is because a lot of the time their role is overblown alongside the home guard. But what I really like about this book is it puts things in context. So not only does it look at the auxiliary units themselves, it also looks at what I have a lot more interest in, the special duties section, so the intelligence gathering side of things. But it also made me aware of things like Section 7, which was a completely different thing. So you've got what's become very clear with this book is that you have, the terms of active defence against invasion, then also the follow-up in terms of occupation. Forces that would come to life kind of during the occupation. And what I really like about this book is that it puts that kind of all in context. As I mentioned as well, it's always a good sign that when I pick up a book, I can read it really easily and don't want to put it down and look forward to reading it as well. And so this has got it in absolute abundance. So I'm aware that I'm filming this on like 2 days just before Christmas, and it's a bit late for you to order a copy of this for Christmas. But if you haven't got one, I do recommend getting it. So what I really like about Andy's writing, and this is something that's come across with my communications and work with Andy, is that he aims for his books to act as a kind of introduction to the subject. So, like I say, as someone who's not generally got an interest or experience of, the secret side of stuff, I have to say this book has been the perfect introduction to me. And it's also with my experience of the regular forces as well, and the regular and territorial army of the home forces, it's allowed me to consider an additional kind of part of the picture in terms of the context of the defence of the UK, which is absolutely fantastic. I feel after reading this that I've got a really good insight into the auxiliary units, but also as well from my perspective the importance of the special duties sections that would have been collecting and relaying the information back to GHQ to inform the defence of the UK and work out where German units involved in the invasion force were behind the front lines to inform defensive strategy and inform the movements of the professional soldiers of the regular and territorial army of the home force as well, which is absolutely amazing. What else to really say? It's absolutely fantastic read. And also I think one of my favourite sections is right at the end. So the conclusion section where Andy draws everything together and makes some really good points. I'm not gonna spoil them because it's worth reading this for yourself. But he makes some absolutely fantastic points about the importance of the civilian side of things in terms of defending the UK. Puts all these units into their wider context, and although and this is slight criticism, it does tend to focus more on, like for example, the auxiliary units' interaction with the Home Guard, rather than their actual interaction with the regular and territorial forces. Although they do get mentions, the context is kind of skewed ever so slightly towards more the Home Guard. But that's been addressed in Andy's more recent book, which I still need to get a copy of and read. But it provides a really nice chronological history. It provides references where required. It provides some absolutely really nice first-hand accounts where these were available. And what I really like is how it intermingles all this information together in a really nice and easy to follow way. Like I say, Andy's writing style is absolutely fantastic. It's engaging, it's interesting. He presents the information. So as someone who deals with this kind of stuff on a professional level, it's nice from time to time to read something that is engaging rather than something that's so purely academic that it makes it difficult to read, which again is one of the reasons why I often struggle with reading big, heavy, history books for this period. I find it a lot easier to read period documents for some reason, probably because the language isn't quite as academic, but it is to the point and it's structured in such a way that I find it really nice and easy to engage with, which is one of the reasons why I prefer using primary sources for my sources of information. I find that the way that military documents were written in the 1940s and in that period is concise, it's to the point and in an easy to understand language, which for some reason my brain just laps that up. And like I say, when I read books that are really kind of like obscure in how they word things and use what I term I'm not going to say that because that'll make this video a bit sweary, but it rhymes with the word. It's a swear word that rhymes with anchor, but I modify it to sound like Anki. It's Anki with a W in front of it. Nearly said it then. So yeah, I try and as soon as I come across books that are written in such an unengaging fashion, it's an instant turn off to my brain. And like I say, Andy avoids that, and yeah, he writes his writing style is absolutely fantastic. It's completely engaging, and I do think this book acts as the perfect introduction to not only the auxiliary units but the what are they called, the no, my brain's gone now. The wireless operators, the ATS, special duties section, that's the word I was looking for. And it brings all that together. So yeah, I do recommend picking up a copy of this book. You can find it on Amazon and elsewhere. There are other bookshops where you can buy this, but it's an absolutely fantastic book. The only other thing with it as well, he uses the word bunker a lot, and I don't like the word bunker because it's overused today for everything from air raid shelters to pillboxes, when the reality is it's a word that so far in my research I've not actually come across once in terms of the British military, but today it's a word that's used for literally any military structure, while from my perspective, it's vitally important that we use the correct terms for these various structures so that they don't all get lumped under one ahistorical word. But on the plus side, Andy does highlight the actual terms that we use for these buildings, and bunkers used as a kind of easily accessible word that most people understand. But yeah, from my perspective, I hate the word, and I might eventually do a video on why I hate it so much. But no, absolutely fantastic little book. I'm really looking forward to getting Andy's recent publication as well, recent book, and giving that a read, which, like I say, I'll probably get around to reading in 30, 40, 50, 60 years' time. Just looking at my bookshelf over here where I keep my books I need to read. Yeah, I'm going to follow this up in a couple of weeks' time with some other publications. But yeah, if you haven't got a copy of Britain's Secret Defences, then please do pick up a copy. It's an absolutely fantastic book. And this is always a good sign with books for me as well, is when I put little post-it notes in for bits I want to reference to and refer to and cross-reference with later. That is always a good sign. So yeah, I think Andy's done a cracking job with this. I can see why it got a lot of attention when it came out. It's completely justified, and I hope it continues to sell well. And like I say, if you haven't got a copy, do check it out. It's published by Casemate Publishing, or publishers, just for reference. And yeah, you can find this online. Absolutely cracking book. I just want to kind of finish off there with... am I going to do a summary for the year? No, I'm going to do that as a separate video. I'm going to have a little sit down and think about what I want to do a little summary for the end of the year for 2024. So as always, I hope that's been useful. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, please do go out and buy Andy's book. It gets the Concrete Chris seal of approval. Yeah. Anyway, thanks for watching. I'll see you later, and goodbye.